When you got introduced to this entire scheme, making money, clicking candlestick charts and indicators flashing on the screen, no matter who it was that got you interested, that moment where you fell in love with the idea or the opportunity of potentially making money, but not going to work for it, seemed very enticing, didn't it? It seemed very, very enticing. And you may have rushed in your pursuit in doing so. And you may have suffered from enticement from influencers, maybe even me. Now, I've done a great deal to try to keep you focused on the things that matter most, but you don't have to have all the materialistic things that come with. You hear that? That's my wife running. She was promising me an uninterrupted hour, and she just ran back into the house, forgot her keys. These are one of those moments where I really, really, really wish it was a recorded thing, because it irks me that it's in there, and that little click, click, click is Bailey running around to try to see where she's at. But when we get involved with this industry, I want to say it like this: when I got into it, I looked at it as a way of retiring early, not getting rich. I didn't have that aspiration. I just wanted to have a better life, and I was willing to defer it to a later time in my life. I know that flies in the face of what's bandied about today, where it's like, hey, look, overnight success is how it's supposed to be. And I'm just very gingerly going to remind you that that's really not practical. Can it happen for some? Absolutely. But for the majority, it's not going to be true for most of us. So I believe I came into this with the right perspective starting out. But as soon as you make a nice win, have a winning streak, and you have profits accumulating, that tends to change things. And what you may have started out with in your journey, and what your pursuits were, and the why as to what you're doing it for, and we're going to talk about that, it'll change. It'll morph into things that you may not have really were inspired by in the beginning. It may even fly in the face of who you are as a person, or used to be. And even for folks that have not found profitability, and I've seen some of them online, I've seen some of them trying to be mentors, I've seen some of them trying to be traders or live streamers, and some of them, not all of them, some of them aren't really successful. But they talk like they are, or they soon will be. And there's nothing wrong with being positive, but there also is a limitation in terms of presenting it in a capacity that you are something that you aren't. Because what that will do is it'll create this expectation in yourself that when you actually do try to trade, and when you try to do things and take on risk, which is the primary discussion point today, you'll be afraid. You'll be afraid to take the trades because you've talked a good game. You've talked outwardly in the presence of others. But when it comes time to push the button, when it comes time to manage that risk, to manage your emotions, to navigate the psychological storm, that real money, real trading on the hard right edge of the chart brings with it. So it's the quiet ones. It's the quiet ones that do all their talking in their journals, where no one else has seen that they cheerlead themselves. They don't beat their chest. They don't brag. They don't do any of those types of things. They just quietly encourage themselves in the solitude of their journal, where it needs to stay. When we look at this industry, there's a verse There is treasure to be desired and oil in dwelling of the wise, but a foolish man spends it up. What does that mean? Well, I'll apply it to trading. Okay, it can be used in a myriad of things, but I'm going to apply that saying to what we do as traders, how we go into the world of speculation for profit, and how we many times lose sight of what it is that we're trying to do. For me, it was trying to retire early. I was wanting to retire at 40. And things change over the course of my career and how I came up, just like it's going to change for you. But it's important for you to identify what is a low-hanging fruit objective for you. Now, I'm not saying sell yourself short in terms of your life, what would be viewed as successful or not successful. But unfortunately, social media, Instagram, YouTube, the influencers' effect on individuals. And I would have been very easily wrapped up in all this stuff too. If I could go back in time and think about how I felt, this insatiable need to feel like I was worth something beyond the normal. I wanted to be outside the range of like everybody else. Not because I wanted to be better than everybody else, but because I wanted to feel significant, because I didn't grow up with parents that had any love towards me. So I got my love and nurturing from my grandparents. So I had a chip on my shoulder. So I was using the market as a way of proving myself worth to me and everyone else around me. That was the wrong approach to going into trading. I wanted to win back my ex-wife. I wanted to do things to have other people look at me and want to be me. I wanted to be that person. And if we had social media back in my time, if it happened to be like it is today, where we have Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all these things that are available to distract us and fill our minds up with foolishness and self-worship and idol worship of other people. That's why I don't like it when you guys call me things like a king or a goat and stuff like that. I don't like that. But I would have been wrapped up in that stuff in 1992 when I first started, if it was available. And I would have fallen victim to it. And who knows what kind of egomaniac I really would have been. And I can see, and I'm sorry if you hear some chawing in the background, that's Piper. I had to give her a bone because there's no way I'd be able to do this Twitter space. And if I step away too far from her, she's going to start whining and crying. So let's get through it the best way we can, okay? But the idea of knowing why you're going into this, what's the purpose? What's the reason why you're doing it? It's for the betterment of yourself, yes. But there has to be something beyond that, okay? When you lay up treasure for yourself here in this world, you're thinking, well, I want to have a nice life. I want to live a nice, successful life where I can do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. And I kind of promote that mindset. I want everyone to have that, yes. But there's got to be something more to it than that. And for me, when I started doing things for people outside of myself, and the things that brought a greater sense of respect for risk, the idea of taking on new risks was a little bit more challenging when I became a father. Because prior to that, I was a cowboy. It was nothing for me to go in there and risk 50% of my account on trades that I had no business being in, when I didn't even know how to trade. But when I had my son, Cody, putting aside all the drama that came with how I became a father, that changed a lot of things for me. It changed the way I viewed risk. I looked at things differently. And I thought to myself, when I take on risk, when I try to do something to increase myself, am I exposing him to more risk? Am I incurring more risk or potential of losing whatever I've gained in hopes of becoming better in the view of other people outside myself or him? So becoming a father for me helped me mature in a way that I would have not probably been successful at had I not become a father. So in short and in more specific terms, when I look at taking on risk and I placed my son in the middle of the conversation, will this next transaction make it easier for me to be a father for him? Or will it be harder for me to be a father to him? And for some of you that don't have children, what that means is if I lose money, it doesn't take food from his mouth. It doesn't keep him in a position of being unclothed. It doesn't mean that we're unsheltered. It just means that now my time, my energy, my focus away from the charts will not be able to be on him, because I will be in regret. I will be in sorrow. I will be remorseful for the things I've taken on in terms of risk. So it dilutes my attention as a father. Now I'm applying it to this real experience I had for myself. For those of you that are listening that don't have children, you don't have anything that is dependent on you. It's just you. You're a young person, and you're living a life that's free of all that. In many ways, I envy that, because there's a lot of emotional turmoil that come with managing children, even adult children that don't want to listen. And you have to find that reason to not just, I'm willing to take the risk because if I lose, I'm still young enough I can make it back. That's how everybody starts in this industry. You can come in with all the greatest intentions of following, risk no more than this much and don't overtrade. That's all fine and great until you start pressing the real button. Not a demo, not a funded account challenge, where the money can actually come out of your own hands. When that money comes in and out of your account, the weight behind that is not something that could be easily explained away. It has to be felt, it has to be experienced. And the worst thing that can happen is you get lucky in the beginning, because you think you're laying up treasure for yourself, and it becomes so easy to think that it's always going to be easy for you. I'm just going to keep stacking up my emerald bricks of dollar bill, y'all. Pick out my next thing I want to spend money on. Pick out my next destination I want to go travel to and experience and put on my Instagram. Laying up treasures for yourself, after a while, and it's very, very short-lived, nobody cares. At some point, no matter how profitable you are, at some point you're going to reach that level where, yeah, I make money. Yeah, I'm doing well. But how many cars can I buy? And how many new things do I have to buy to keep people interested in me? And then you discover what I discovered in my 20s, that nobody really cares. They don't really care about you when you do that. They're living vicariously through your decisions and what you show. And they think to themselves, because they're spending time chasing and pursuing you because you're doing that, their concern is not about you. The concern that they had about me on America Online was not generally about me, but I wanted to believe it was. And the people that do this, they want to be looked up to. They want to be worshipped. They want to be idolized. Those things carry you only so far. And at some point, no matter how good you are, it stops satisfying. And when it stops satisfying you and you no longer get that, return on your investment, and you start seeing the diminishing returns, no matter what you do, no matter what you try to do over the top, spending money, showing this and showing that, it won't bring you any satisfaction. It won't really entice any of your followers or people that look up to you, and you'll become bored in their eyes, or boring rather, and you will become bored by what it is that you're doing. And the long and short of it is that's all the wrong things. You're laying up treasures for yourself here. That's Piper. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. It's too big. Can't eat that. Oh. See that? AI doesn't have a puppy to take care of. A lot of people still think I was an AI. I'm a real guy. Real distractions, real family, real stuff. But when you have this pursuit of laying up treasures for yourself, that is such a short-lived journey of success. Because at some point, there's just simply nothing else to do. And that's an unfortunate state of mind to be in, because I found myself that way in my 20s. And while it's easy for me to go out there and show that I have lots of money and I can earn lots of money and I can create new business ventures and partnerships and do all kinds of things, open up new mentorships, and I'm not doing it. I told you I wasn't. My pursuits, my why I'm doing anything going forward is for the treasures I'm laying up for my family. I want to create memories for them. I want to create memories for myself. And I've robbed myself of that. And it's easy to get caught up in the success. I have lots of students that are making lots of money now. And they're finding success in what they're doing, and they feel good about themselves. And I'm so thankful that they've had that experience. But I don't want you to think that that's all there is to it. Because at some point, if you don't have a child now, you might become a parent later on. And then all of a sudden, you're going to have a greater sense of respect for risk. Because if you found yourself in a position of prominence or affluence, and then you have a child, now all of a sudden, because you are equipping them with a lifestyle that would be above the average lifestyle, you don't want to risk losing it. You want to make sure that they are able to be kept well, provided for. And I found that was the case for me. I didn't want to do anything to upset the apple cart. I wanted to make sure that, when they were raised by me, that I wouldn't be in a position of lack like I was when I was younger. I know what it felt like to be sleeping in a car with a 1-year-old or less than a 1-year-old. I know what it's like to be homeless. I know what it's like to have no roof over your head, no money in the bank. I know what it feels like to have a seized bank account and having to file bankruptcy. I've done all those things before. I've done that. I've lived all that before. And when you have children, or for some of you that are listening, when you have a why that it's outside yourself, you do things for other people. They may not be directly related to you. They may not be your offspring. It may be that you want to sponsor the less fortunate. That's an admirable thing. It should not be broadcasted. It should not be out there say, I support this, I support that person, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, because that's your reward then. I'm trying to do this, folks. Piper's got every noisy toy going on in the background. I apologize. But you have to have some kind of sense of reason, some purpose beyond and outside yourself to do this. Because if you don't, you will take blind risk. You'll do things when you're bored. And if you've listened to the student that I just retweeted the interview of, one of my students that was a mentorship student, Alex, he actually mentioned something that was kind of like the inspiration for this Twitter space today. If you listen to him, before I get into it, I want to correct him real quick. Power 3 was not invented by Larry Williams. Power 3 was my interpretation on how to correct his lack of understanding about how to buy below the opening price on bullish days or sell above the opening price on bearish days. So I'm not sure if there was a language barrier there on his presentation on the interview or in my discussions while he was learning, but Power 3 is mine. But he mentioned when he was doing his interview, he said that he would say many times he would find himself in the trades, taking trades and wanting to lose. Now, I'm sure when I heard that, I was thinking right away that there's going to be people, trolls, many of them, would love to pounce on something like that. And if you look at the presentation from a whole and then try to apply it to yourself, you probably understand really what he means, but don't really want to admit it. And here's my interpretation of what I believe he was trying to say. And I have experienced it myself, and I've seen other students do the same thing. I'm wrangling Piper right now. She's by herself. We have obedience school that Scout's a part of today. And Piper had hers the other day, so we have to separate them. Puppies from the same litter, they have to be managed differently because they'll build a bond between them and they'll isolate Bailey. And then becomes problematic. But back to Alex and the mindset issue that he mentioned. If you look at the point in the conversation that he had with the funded company, he says that he would be in trades and he wanted to lose because he wanted to be spending time with his girlfriend. What that actually is, it's a form of punishment. And it's the very thing I'm talking about today. When you're trading and you're trying to build wealth, you have so many other things that you have to balance in your life. You have to balance your personal life, if you have children, if you have relationships. And if you find yourself in a position where you're trying to take trades and your mind is elsewhere, your mind is on someone else, your mind is on your child, boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, spouse, your job, maybe your pursuit is trying to get out of having to go to work. That's admirable. But what if you are in a position right now that doesn't promote the clarity for you to be trading because you have to maintain your employment until you find a better job? Or if you're on the rocks with your employer and you might be losing your job soon because of performance issues, or you didn't do something right. Bear with me 1 second. We're going to hear a little bit of nature now. I got to give her some running room. But the idea of these distractions, like you're seeing me have to encounter and manage while I'm doing this live presentation. Yeah, it takes a great deal of focus to trade. And for me, most of you, I'm easily distracted. I have short-term attention span, and I wrestle with a lot of things. If you are in trades or taking trades, or you find yourself taking trades and entertaining the idea that I'm probably going to lose on this trade, but what the hell? I'm going to just roll the dice and see what happens. And you're finding your thoughts linked to something outside of the market or the chart you're in. You're not respecting the risk. And what you're doing is subconsciously punishing yourself because you know that your time should be spent on that thing, person, that event, whatever it is that's making itself known to you while you're in a trade. How do you deal with that? Well, you close the trade. You stop close the charts. But I'm beneath the spread. I'm in drawdown. The trade isn't in my favor yet. Just wait. No. You know what's going to happen. Your mind is distracted. You're looking at things with a clouded mind. And subconsciously, you're wanting to lose. So that way, you don't feel guilt without purpose. I'm going to say that in a better way. You want to make sure that you don't lose sight of the importance of that thing that's distracting you, that person, that thing that you should be doing, other than sitting in front of that chart, taking that trade. That's the more weightier matter. But your impulsiveness, the gambler, they're in the driver's seat. And he or she wants to build up treasure for themselves, instead of building up treasure for something outside of yourself. For Alex, if you're listening, if you find yourself thinking like that, stop, don't trade. Only trade when you know that you're doing it to make a better life for you and your significant other. You're going to find that your trading becomes so much easier to manage the risk, easier to manage psychologically, because you're taking the risk soberly. It's not you that's just going to lose the money. It's you and your significant other. It's you and your child that you're supporting, and it's dependent of you. Put it in perspective like this. If you had a 1-year-old child, just learned how to walk, there's this little, they don't know anything. They don't know their left from their right. Would you encourage them to go out there and run around in traffic? Of course not. It seems like an extreme, right? But essentially, that's what you're doing. Many times as a trader, you're encouraging bad habits because you're not focused. You're trading for all the wrong reasons. And you're trying to store up treasure, laying up treasure just for yourself. Where if I lose it, it's not a big deal. If I lose this account, if I blow this money, if I fail my funded account challenge, if I lose my funded account, I'll just reset it. That is a piss poor approach to mindset. That is absolutely the worst mindset that you can adopt or start forging. You have to be diligent about risk at all times, and you have to elevate the respect of that risk to a degree that will prevent you from trading impulsively. Otherwise, the wolves come in. What's a wolf? Trying to keep up with the Joneses. That's an expression we say here in the States. What that means is someone has something in terms of a track record. They've done something monetarily. They bought something. They went somewhere. You clap issue is wolf. And what does a wolf want to do? Come in and devour, steal, like a fox in the hen house. They want to take something from. You never see a wolf come in and say, hey, you know what? You look like you need something extra. Let me drop you off something here at your door. Don't work like that. Cats seem to do that, though. I was watching a video the other day. Saw this cat kept bringing its master whatever it found, either dead or caught. I've never seen that with any dogs. Maybe they do it too, but I digress. But a wolf, you got to keep them at bay. They come in to steal, kill, and destroy. They steal your purpose for what you're doing it for. Because it's great having a desire to become better. There's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing egotistical about it. It's not greed that you want to be better than you are right now. It's not greed that you want to have more than you have right now. That is not greed. Greed is having more than enough and not appreciating it. That's greed. A wolf is fearful. That's a fearful thing. If you were in the woods and you saw a large wolf in front of you, I don't care who you are, whether you had a firearm on your side or not, that scared the shit out of you. If it's gnarling its teeth at you and it's ready to jump on you, okay, you're going to respect that risk. And that's what happens when you start doing things outside yourself. And that's what you need to be prepared to deal with, that level of risk and managing it. When you have a sense of purpose above and beyond yourself, you're now accountable to no one but you. It's easy to manage the risk, but when you're accountable for yourself and something or someone else, there has to be a greater appreciation for risk. If you don't manage that risk appropriately and you do all the wrong things, try to get a trade to feel better, you aren't spending the time you're supposed to be spending with your family, but your impulsiveness, the gambler's in the driver's seat, and you're in front of those charts. So I've been there. I have done damage that I cannot replace on an emotional level with my own kids, with my wife, that I can't replace that time with. And when I talk to you about these things, and these asshats are in my comment section saying he's railing about stuff about his family, nobody cares about that. You're a broke ass person that's never going to be anybody. You're never going to amount to shit. But you're going to leave comments from somebody that's already lived it and has learned the lessons painfully. So that way you, a broke ass that won't listen to good sound reason logic, to keep yourself from making the same mistakes that I have.